So, but I was looking at my Fuji's got this cheaper, like for content creators camera that I was considering. It's like $700 with the kit lens, which is actually a decently rated lens, which is like 14 to 55. And so I was thinking about picking one of those up as my third camera because I do need more than one.
Third camera.
Well, I have my old Fuji, and then I have my newer Fuji, and those are my photography ones. But this would be a decent extra video camera because, like, when I did the stuff with Briavel this weekend, I used my phone as the third camera.
Oh, I should have also put in the description Mortal Kombat trailer. I know we talked about it on Monday, but I guess I want to get your thoughts on it as well.
Oh man, I don't know if I have. Like, cool. I hope it doesn't suck. Oh, we're on. Oh no, your audio's off now.
Oh, sorry, I was typing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would have kept you from saying anything embarrassing. Plus, I need some B-roll. I need some relaxed, casual B-roll. See, now I got plenty of B-roll. Good.
Yes. For content creators.
And then they upcharge some of this shit.
Some of it, like this Fuji is $700 MSRP with the lens, so that's a lot cheaper than what my main camera is. My main camera was $1,100-$1,200 just for the frame. So. Well.
I'm looking at that would probably be the next thing I upgrade, or the lenses, and I'm like,
oh, well, welcome to hell.
It's starting already. Okay. The only reason I'm not.
I look forward to your part-time job at Best Buy to pay for this addiction.
No, it's me selling video games on eBay. That's what I've had to do. That's how I bought the G7. No, I am okay. So what I've decided to do is just use the G7 to shoot YouTube like series videos. So like if I'm gonna like talk about something more scripted, I'm just gonna use that for those videos, and I'm gonna stick with this Brio or my C7 for streaming stuff for now. Just because one, until I figure out the charger thing with G7, there's no point in doing it anyway. Plus, it only wants to put out in 1080 anyway, so it's kind of like that's a lot of setup to even not really get a resolution boost. Not that I'm like 4K, 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 but I'm like, well, then I could just use the Brio, because yeah, at that point.
I mean,
well, okay, I have not shown you videos of this with me lighting it back there. I've only shown you from the cell phone. I should show you with the Brio, or even the C7 for that matter. C7 looks really good lit in that backdrop. That looks really darn good. It's almost kind of a shame that like they really need that C7 camera to be able to put out 4K resolution, because it's like, why does the Brio not do that well comparatively? Like, it looks good, but
I'll tell you, it's a sensor. You've got a sensor about that big on the Brio and a sensor about that big on the G7. And honestly, it makes a world of difference. Like when I went from Nikon's, I forgot even their brand, but they had super compact mirrorless. When I went from that to the Fuji, it was night and day, especially with low light quality. There was not nearly any noise. There was a lot more depth, a lot more color. So yeah.
I mean, because it's so good that I might, if I could find another C7 that's not overpriced from gougers, You know, because that's a $50 webcam that people are still charging $120 for it. It's crazy. But yeah, if I found another one of it, like I want to like just permanently stick one up over here so I can just kind of leave some stuff where my computer is set up. So like when I'm hanging out over there to shoot some stuff or streaming, like gaming stuff wise.
What was that Stephen called you this weekend?
Get it. Hey, the cameras aren't pointed to the bed.
Never mind the fact that it's a wide angle.
It does look bad. If someone to walk in this room, they're like, so what are you doing in here? I'd be like,
why did you want to show me your room?
I got no defense. I got nothing. All right. Thank you, folks, for listening in on our camera banter. Because we're not just movie nerds, we are cinematography nerds. So
yes.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at some old 35mm projectors this weekend. $10,000 some of them were running. I kind of just clutched my heart. I was like, oh Lord. That's a house, baby.
Yeah. That's a sizable portion to a down payment on a reasonable house.
Now, so it's. I just found it funny though, because some of them are antique, so some of them are like 1950s kind of like projectors. I mean, so I was like, holy crap! So I don't have anywhere to put those. Plus, they're massive at that time in cinema age. So I'm like, yeah, I would have nowhere to put that, but kind of behemoth. You know, I need to like have a studio and have like a lobby where I could put that and like, hey, look at this thing, look at it.
Look at this thing I spent $10,000 on and that we don't do anything with other than I say, look at this, like Chris Rock as he's about to tell a joke.
I guess if we had like a preview room or a cinema, like me and Jerry talk all the time about if we can make a Nerd Union studio in St. Louis, like I want to have like a stage area where we could like screen movies, but also, so yeah, I guess if the projection room in there could fit it, but good Lord.
Oh man. Yeah, I look forward to the note that you get that it's a fire violation to have actual film in the place.
I wouldn't store a lot of it. Just be like, give me like 20, 30 reels. Let me get some Lawrence of Arabia on 70mm.
Oof. Okay,
that actually would burn the place down.
Yes,
that film, the amount it would take by itself. It'd be like, son, you didn't think, you didn't know. I was like, yeah, I knew. As the whole studio's just gone, all of our hard work burned up to a crisp. All right, which is the perfect segue to the Fire Nation, and for the Avatar fans and the audience. Actually, before we even get to hello everyone, you got to hear our camera ranting, but you are listening to the Commandership Show with myself, Kenneth Commandership, and I was gonna say Lieutenant. But that feels like a step down from, because we've done
Inquisitor.
Have we done Inquisitor? Maybe. Have we done Inquisitor yet?
You've done Inquisitor.
Done Inquisitor. We've done Viceroy. Major is just like always. That's why I didn't want to do Lieutenant, because it was a step down. Because I was like, we've already. Yeah. Major is like your default.
It's the default.
Rank. Yeah.
Yes.
So we can't do Lieutenant.
I'm not helping you on this one.
No, you're not. All right. Well then, fine, Chief Petty Officer. All right.
All right. Can I be the Master Chief Petty Officer?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'll take that.
The Master Chief Tom. That's what we'll do. All right.
MC Tom.
Oh God.
You're welcome.
Am I though?
Yes.
Am I? All right, folks, we can hear you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and let's get started with the show. So, I made the Fire Nation nod. So the original creators of Avatar are coming back, potentially for a full show. We're gonna see how that contract language ends up coming out. But what definitely was confirmed is an animated movie coming from those two on Nickelodeon. So whether that'll be like a direct to streaming, because Nickelodeon is owned by CBS, ergo it will be coming to that new Paramount Paramount Plus. That's a terrible name. I still hate that name. Like, again, CBS All Access isn't much better, but at least more people probably know who CBS is than Paramount. But anyway, whether it will be coming to Nickelodeon proper as far as on the network or coming just to the Paramount streaming service, we're not sure yet. But I feel like this is an encouraging sign for the Avatar fans that felt like Korra got cut short or things they wanted to do weren't quite finished, So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Make sure you renew your subscriptions to P+. Before.
Is that where P+?
The P+? I mean, it's better than getting your subscription on the Peacock.
Yeah. Gotta get that Peacock. I mean, that's a terrible name too. It's just awful. It's atrocious.
Yeah. Not everyone can be Netflix.
Or HBO Max, which has the new Mortal Kombat trailer released.
Yes.
It's going to have an April release. The internet is abuzz with the amazing fatalities. We talked on the show Monday. Steve made a good point that it's very orchestrated right now. We haven't heard the hard metal and our EDM soundtrack, which I agree. I'm kind of like, that is what I think of when I hear Mortal Kombat. Even the trash Mortal Kombat Annihilation, it at least still had the right music with it.
Plus the old techno song that started with the scream. Mortal Kombat! That sounds like Jason from The Good Place screaming, Portals!
Portals? How did you get that How did you make that so fast? As if he's just kind of walking around with Molotov cocktail materials at all times.
You don't.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep a rag with you and a lighter at all times.
Because that'll get you 2/4 of the. That gets you halfway there. You just need a bottle, and okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Stuff in the bottle.
It may not be as complicated as I thought it was. All right. But yeah, visually it looks really good. Sub-Zero looks like he's going to be the main baddie-ish. I don't know. There's a lot of people that be baddies. And yeah, visually it just looks really, really cool. And the fans of the series just seem like they're down, like they're in it. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah, part of me wonders how much of, is Sub-Zero really going to be a main character, or is Sub-Zero focused in the trailers because a focus group told them that Sub-Zero might be one of the more popular ones. Should we do Raiden or Sub-Zero? Fuck Raiden. All about Sub-Zero.
We didn't want to go. Did it? You don't want any of that?
No, and nor do we want. Who was in the Highlander?
Oh, Lambert. I can't remember.
Yes. I will tell you in a moment.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't see his head. Oh God! But then Raiden gets downgraded.
Christopher Lambert, yeah.
It's Christopher Lambert, but then in Annihilation, it turns into some other dude. You're kind of like, who's this off-brand Lambert dude?
Well, hey, at least I think this time around, Raiden's played by a person who is Asian.
I have not seen a trailer breakdown to see who everyone is confirmed to be. Because mainly I was looking for the hat, and I didn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, so that would have been the first tip off. Which also, yes, to your point, he should be played by someone Asian, not not the Highlander. As far as powered beings, it doesn't get any more white than freaking Celtic. Well, I guess not Celtic mythology, but just kind of around that general area where he was operating in before he became a Highlander. So I clearly remember the Highlander mythos just like that off the top of my head. I can just totally recall it.
Just all you have to do is just imagine Sean Connery talking about the quickening.
All right. Speaking of Connery, and that segue is not gonna work. I don't know where my brain was. I think I was just thinking of old people.
Speaking of old people,
George Lucas, writing extraordinaire, just crafted out some bangers.
Known for his dialogue.
Known for his dialogue. Is returning to the Andor Star Wars series on Disney Plus. He's going to be writing 2 episodes on the show. So, Tom, how do you feel about old Papa Lucas coming back to his baby?
I believe my first response was, "Oh, good. I thought I've been enjoying Star Wars too much lately." So, yeah, I'm putting money on Lucas is going to write it. He's going to hand it off to Filoni and crew that are really in charge, and then they're going to read it, put on a brave face like they're eating, grandma's screwed up recipe, and saying, this is wonderful.
This cake isn't hard at all.
Yes. It's supposed to chip a tooth, right? Thank you. And then they're going to hand it off to some junior writer and be like, punch this up for us, please. But, keep the story. But
the thing that's interesting, because this framework is already there, it already exists. Filoni, Favreau, the other directors and stuff that are taking over the individual projects. Again, this is not talking about movies, Star Wars. It still remains to be seen if that's going to get its act together. But for show Star Wars, it seems like they have a structure. And even Lucas coming in and well, I'm just saying because I don't know after Mandalorian what how far that extends. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yes, I know they've got a good quality process for Mandalorian. Whether that will extend to Ahsoka and all that other, but it just looks like maybe they've got their stuff together. So even Lucas coming in to do 2 episodes won't derail the entire process. This is exactly what you're saying. Like he could inject into these 2 episodes, and because it's, this is different than necessarily the prequels where you haven't done Star Wars in a long time. The only content has really been the written books at that time. So now you're getting back into a writer's room that's had, that's at least had some hey, we've written Star Wars. Whether they're gonna, to your point, and you and me have talked about this before. Now, if they all of a sudden succumb to the, oh God, but it's George.
It's George freaking Lucas.
Then everything I just said,
is out the door.
Just throw it out the door.
Yep,
but they should be confident that hey, you all have been writing in this franchise, so just chill out. Mandalorian did good. Ahsoka's going to be a branch from that. You got Bad Batch. You got freaking Dave Filoni who saved the Clone War era. Yes. Just listen to Dave. Listen to Papa Dave. Ignore Uncle Lucas. I keep changing the fraternal order of stuff around here. They're like, is he a dad or an uncle? It's like, I don't want Luke's that dad energy. I don't give him crazy uncle energy.
Yes. No, because, there's a part of me that's just like, what if we just turn Admiral Thrawn into another Gungan?
But,
we need something for the kids. We need something for the kids.
The kids will have the Bad Batch.
Yeah. Will they? Yeah, they can watch. Yeah. Star Wars is no longer kids. We're declaring this now. The kids can have the movies. The adults will take the TV shows.
Upcoming shows, because we already know the release date for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but some things that have come down the pipe. So for Star Wars, The Bad Batch, that will be on May 4th. So not a bad way to have
May
our
the
May
4th
4th
be with
celebration
you.
this year, given how terrible everything has been. And Loki will be out on June 11th. So both of those you'll be able to find on Disney Plus. After the WandaVision stuff, and knowing that Loki is centered on the Time Variance Agency, like, hey, you're not where you're supposed to be at. We got to fix this. I'm kind of curious what else they've got to fix after. So I'm assuming there could be some Cap cleanup. There could be some. There could be some Endgame cleanup. There could be some Wanda cleanup. Those are the three that immediately pop to mind. Yeah, there could be some other stuff, but those are kind of the first three that popped to mind in my head.
Yeah, I think definitely there's going to be some Wanda cleanup, some Cap cleanup. We may even see some cameos from the good Captain.
From the good Captain.
And hopefully an Old Man stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any maybe some Stark stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine if we got some moments of old Cap just sitting around a fire telling stories. And this time I bopped Red Skull in the face.
Would you like a Pepperidge Farm mulatto?
Yeah, just wearing a cardigan, pulling out the words that's original.
Hey.
Like, thanks, Cap.
Yep. I'm all for this as I'm wearing my Ross Edition red cardigan.
That is very much a Ross cardigan. But it looks good on you. It's very good.
Thank you.
It's a powerful, bold red. You know, it's not too flashy.
Because you can't have a flashy cardigan.
What?
One shouldn't.
It defeats the energy of the cardigan.
Yes.
It's an opposing. It's an opposing energy. It's like, just let go. Let it go. Let it go. You don't need that energy here.
No.
So this feels like someone has the reverse idea of the Disney parks to movie idea. So remember Pirates of the Caribbean being a Disney ride that has become a movie, and we all thought that was dumb. And for at least one movie, they were like, okay, that's not so dumb. And then the subsequent four kind of reinforced our initial thought. So now Disney wants to go in blended. I was gonna say in reverse, but I think blended is a better. Ronald D. Moore of Battlestar and Star Trek fame is gonna be writing a connected story idea between some of the newest park attractions at Disney, and I just, as I'm saying it, I can't muster any energy to be like, woo.
You know, I will give you that energy, because I've been watching For All Mankind, which I may have mentioned before, which is helmed by Ronald D. Moore, and he's done a lot of the writing for it, and it is possibly the best TV I've seen in a long time. I like this show better than The Mandalorian. I like this show better than Disco. I like this show. It is wonderful. Like, because he's created an alternate universe that I want to live in. It's absolutely amazing.
Because this is the one where the Russians beat the U.S. to the moon.
Yes. And the consequences of after that is just remarkable. And the universe building that he's done with that is so solid that I'm 100% confident that you could give Ronald Moore, he could make a compelling show about, the Teacup Ride or Mr. Toad's Great Adventure. Just pick any he could make the Hall of Presidents into something amazing.
It'd be like National Treasure free.
Yes, but better.
But better. All right. Yeah, that still didn't. It feels like a.
I get it.
Of all the cash grabs I have to watch Disney do, which we're going to get to a more egregious one here later, that one just definitely stands out as. I just don't.
I'm going to give them a pass for a moment and say that it's not necessarily a cash grab. I'm hoping that, like, with Disney moving to Disney Plus and the subscription-based service, yes, it is kind of a cash grab, but I think it is also some creative spaghetti throwing. Because I mean, think about it. Like when you're, that's one of the things that HBO did quite well early on when they started doing subscriptions. They're like, hey, what if we did a TV show about a middle-aged gangster in Jersey and he has anxiety issues, and people will be like, that sounds dumb, and then it turns out to be one of the greatest television shows in modern history. And what if you remember that Zack Snyder hot mess called The Watchmen? Well, there's a sequel. Why don't we make a TV show about that?
Yeah.
So I'm all for them going to one of the best creative minds in television writing and saying, could you make anything out of this stuff over here?
He probably should get a woman on his writing staff, though, so he can avoid some of the problematic things in Outlander and Battlestar. Before someone asks me about, but those things are in the book, I don't care.
Nope.
I don't care. Moving on to things I do care about, though. Tom, Thor's hammer has been seen on the set of Thor: Love and Thunder. What do you think's going on there?
I'm not sure. There's part of me that's wondering, like, is there more time travel going on? Is it going to be one of those, oh, it wasn't really dead? You can't kill meow meow.
Mjolnir, but okay, yeah. Meow meow means.
Or if it's on set and it's not time travel, then I hope that Mr. Lannister makes another cameo.
I was like reforge.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That
so
would, that would be my other, like, because one, I don't want, please no more time shenanigans. Can we just put that device away for a little bit? But also, yes. I feel like reforging or someone puts it back together would make a lot of sense.
Actually, I want that because I presume Thor's not going to lose his powers. So Jane becomes Thor-like, and so Thor's like, here, you could have my old hammer because I've got this shiny new big one, kind of as a throwback joke to Endgame. When Cap's using Stormbringer, and he's like, no, switch, give me that back.
Yeah, I mean that could be a be interesting.
Yeah,
because we also don't know what dynamic's going to give her the powers in the movie either way, so that's going to be another interesting piece.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm leaning towards that rather than, you're just learning your god powers, so here's a thing to focus them. Just like Thor did early on. Because he's not the god of hammers.
Are you the god of thunder or are you the god of hammers? All right, so we got a little Disney insider. A little Disney birdie. Was it Daniel Reichman? And he's reporting that Scarlet Witch is gonna be the focal point, kind of in a Tony Stark way, like he was in a lot of the early phases of Marvel. And so far, I mean, if you count WandaVision and what's gonna happen in Doctor Strange, we'd have to see what happens in other films, and again, what other impact she might have. But does that track with you, Tom? And I know we'll try to stay spoiler-free for this one because I know we'll talk about the episode later at the end of the show.
I think so. One, I'm happy for Miss Olsen because she's now starting to catch up to her billionaire sisters.
Those are visuals, man.
Yes. And I always wanted her to show up as Michelle in Fuller House before they canceled instead of one of the others. But I mean, it kind of makes sense, because there's no with the precedent that they're setting post Endgame is, Wanda's dealing with some stuff and she's run amok a little bit, and I think I hope it's not all like, oh, look at this hot mess that Wanda made and all of Phase 4 is cleaning up that mess. I hope it's more like people start to recognize her abilities, and this entire process with this latest episode is basically her growing her powers without necessarily knowing it.
I do think Doctor Strange at least will be a cleanup, or maybe at least the direct ramifications of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to imagine. And yeah, I would agree. I don't want to have to watch Phase 4 and then be like, oh, wow, it's like y'all are just choosing to beat this poor woman up for this. And again, we'll talk more about what happened in this previous episode, so it's not as clear cut as just being, well, yeah, we'll get to that more. But I was like, yeah, that would be unfortunate, because I'm trying to think. There have been ripples or an accumulation of effects. So you think like the Sokovia Accords are a reflection of incidents the Avengers have had, but it's not like one particular incident always kind of like sweep through the entire thing until you get to Thanos. So it's like, yeah, the Accords are a ramification of multiple things. Of course, we could always argue about that for a while, about how dumb those things are, but well, it's like, yeah, did you want to fight off the alien invasion by yourself? Huh? Do you want to? Because remember, you all were going to nuke New York, so yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure that would have closed the portal. Yeah, that would.
Oh. Yeah, maybe that's it. I would almost rather that is like the stupidity of bureaucracy, but also I have issues with that because that sometimes is some BS right-wing propaganda. Unlike the pro-military propaganda that we discussed earlier today.
Yeah. Cool. And something you might also have a problem with, and I don't know if I believe this, because I still don't believe that the amount of footage that they have for the new Snyder Cut lines up with how long it is. So Deborah Snyder recently in an interview said that they only shot one new scene. And I don't know if maybe she was like...
That sounds like a technicality.
Yeah, do they mean like we reshot previous scenes, but the only new scene we shot was like this one that just didn't exist? Like, I was like, that might be more what she means, but if she's saying only one new one and we had everything else already and we just had to give CGI, bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah.
And there goes the age restriction rating for YouTube, but I don't care. Bullshit.
I think I already broke that for you anyway earlier.
It's just no. That's just not.
No. Plus, I generally have a disbelief of the Snyders anyway. Man, it's fascinating how my dislike for them runs so deep.
Oh man, you watched Superman and Lois last night, didn't you?
I did, absolutely. And I will say, I said it on Facebook, I'll say it again here, for YouTube and eternity, the first 10 minutes of Superman and Lois was better than anything that the Snyders ever produced about Superman.
I like this Superman. I do.
Yeah.
I get that I'm watching TV Superman. I get that. There's going to be some production quality things. And it's also CW. So I am inevitably waiting for the rug to get pulled out from under me when they just do too much, or just start really turning into a soap opera.
Episode 3, season 2. Yeah.
Every single time. It's like clockwork. You can get two good seasons, and then you get to episode 3. Or sorry, what'd you say? Episode 2 of season 3. And you're like, no. That's because that's about where I left. That's definitely where I left Arrow. And it's about the same time. I don't think Flash even got that far, because I think I'd already learned from Arrow. So I was watching Flash, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, the second time he rewrote the timeline, Like he rewrote the timeline and then he did it again, and it's just like, ugh, I'm done.
Then you got other flashes coming in and being like, don't do this. We have already, trust me, we have tried this. Don't do it. It's like, but couldn't I? What did I just say, Bear?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Oh, man. Oh, man. So we're going to get into our main topics. This is still a news topic, but it's one I just want to riff on for at least a little bit, which is something I wasn't aware of, and I'm going to need to dive into some. I know as soon as I say contracts, your eyes might glaze over and be like, he's not talking about contracts. Just in this way. And if Disney's doing it, I have to imagine maybe some of the other streaming services are doing it as well. And I need to bring up Disney because this could affect Hulu. I guess if you're a big ESPN person, you could affect that as well. But I'm curious who else might be doing this or trying to have this classification, because I don't think Netflix is. But I mean, this could be affecting CBS or Peacock and different, maybe even HBO. And then we know how much Warner Brothers has stuck their foot in their mouth. So I would not be surprised how much they did not pay out for the movies. I wouldn't be surprised if some of their streaming stuff has the same thing. But do y'all remember home video? And when you would go to a video store and get your VHS, and you could always, in your contract, charge less for that classification, because anyone that was attached to that project knew that you weren't going to get the same amount of money as you would releasing a blockbuster movie, because it was going straight to VHS, or it's like only the home video release. Or even if you do home video, like that language attached to a blockbuster that's going to get released in a theater, and then it's going to come out in home video afterwards, the amount of money you're going to make on home video afterwards, usually it's not going to be the same compared to your cut of the blockbuster. We could talk about what those percentages are and so on and so forth. But so Disney has had a contract for years that's been like about an 80-20 split. Some people can negotiate some better things, but typically what it means is revenue that comes in, 80% of it Disney gets to allocate for themselves. 20% of it is what gets allocated to anyone else. That's like, and then in this instance, the person leading the lawsuit is Bill Nye, because he signed a contract for some of his shows with Disney, or Discovery in particular, back in the 90s. This contract was written in 93, where home video was still viable. Like, yes, home video, viable outlet. Streaming wasn't even a twinkle in anyone's eye yet. And Bill Nye bringing up a pretty good point. Like, hey, yeah, no, this is not even, this doesn't work. This hasn't worked for years. I don't know why you're still trying to charge me, still trying to allocate in this way. And while some of the set production things cost-wise may be similar and or less, the distribution of that is definitely not the same. It's like the cost you're doing to that doesn't compare to what you had to do in the past for home video.
I don't know. Like, the way that he's arguing this, I'm putting on my infrastructure nerd hat. Like, in some ways, it can be more expensive doing this per person. He's like, production on a VHS got down to like $1 a tape or something along those lines. And just thinking about my company, we spend probably $30 million a year alone in just with Amazon Web Services, and we don't have nearly the footprint that a Netflix or an HBO Max has. And so, like, there is continued cost and operational costs that I think can be bigger than this. I mean, I don't disagree with him, and I do think that people need to rethink that, and reclassifying it as home video distribution is pretty wonky. But
because that's just what they dumped it into, and it's like,
yeah.
What?
But I'm guessing that in the court, the judge saw HBO's operational costs. They may have shown some of those operational costs, and it should be at least equal to,
okay,
if not more. that's the only hole that I'm thinking of. I absolutely do agree, though, that like people should rethink how we do. Streaming is not home video, and we should possibly just say, no, this is a new type of thing. We need to redo. We need to rethink this and rethink how contracts work. But his argument, I think, wasn't as strong as it should have been.
Gotcha. Okay then. I'll keep that in mind when I start to dig down into the numbers, because that was my upkeep. I think it'd be the biggest. It's like just putting it out on your network is not the thing that's actually the cost. It's the if I get more subscribers, how much more bandwidth do I need, or how much
exactly. And think about think about 2010 and the event that basically caused net neutrality to become a thing. Was Comcast saying, "Oh, you Netflix, you want to stream? Well, guess what? We're also streaming, so we're going to screw you on your costs unless you put your servers within our data centers, and pay us an exorbitant amount of money for that." So like companies like Netflix and HBO probably do get hosed from every end, from the from production side all the way to distribution side, because Comcast, is probably, dare I say it, more evil than Disney.
That's the only reason I would disagree. This would be a long. This definitely.
Yes, Comcast has not made Song of the South, but or an equivalent to.
That's what But I feel like Disney's impact on the culture. Like, yes, Comcast is an evil corporation. It's like, but they're just screwing you over on your internet and your and I'm not trying to say that they're trying to say that's just what they're doing. And I know Comcast now, based on the what was it? Who bought them? I can't remember who bought them.
Well, it's Comcast Universal.
Yes, that have brought in more wrinkles into it.
Yes.
So there's probably some other stuff that's what I'm saying. This could be a good topic.
Which, by the way, that Comcast Universal thing, I think, happened in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, because there was a whole 30 Rock. That was a whole season of 30 Rock, where they're like a Cable Town.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the sub-in for Comcast buying, or Universal buying, however that worked, Cable Town.
I think it was a merger, more so than
like a straight up buyout. Yeah.
So yeah, it's and there's also the whole. I was listening to the news yesterday morning, and Comcast was boasting about we've brought 4 million people in this country affordable, free internet, to poor communities or other things like that. I'm like, just 4 million. Just 4 million?
It's malarkey.
Kenneth, you're not poor enough.
Oh, gosh. All right, moving on. Shaka King's biopic on the young Fred Hampton, who was the chairman, leader of the Illinois Black Panthers, Chicago Black Panthers group. Judas and the Black Messiah is really darn good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also struggling to finish my review on it because I had a lot of emotions coming out of it. Because there's definitely some things I'm like, things I knew, and then there's still some stuff that was like, well, that tracks. It's like that. It's like that. So in that way, it was like there's definitely things I knew. There's still some things there were like new. There's definitely some things that were new to me, even kind of walking out of that. And I'll let Tom go, but I'll come back with some more thoughts.
So there was a lot of new things for me. I think it's worth saying that. I'll start with the movie. The production of it was technically flawless. So, and that's something that I appreciate: the editing, the pacing, cinematography, audio, soundtrack. everything on that was pretty flawless. And so it's wonderful that nothing took me out of the film. But the thing that really got to me as somebody who lives in Chicago, and it actually lives a mile and a half away from where he was assassinated, is I keep on thinking about what my city would have been like if he didn't die, if the FBI and the Chicago police weren't really shitty about it, to put it kindly. And if he were allowed to just build up the black community as he intended to do, it kind of bothers me that I don't live. I blame Ronald D. Moore for me thinking about the alternate universe in For All Mankind. I'm now thinking about this alternate universe of what if Fred Hampton wasn't assassinated? What if he was able to pull off the mission that he set out to do? And I kind of mourn for that lack of that Chicago not existing. Because
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I thought, man, it would have been amazing if he succeeded, then Chicago would be the place where Black Americans could thrive, and it could have been this incredible mecca of, for lack of a better term, for people. And we would have had this, I want to say, a renaissance of sorts in this city, and it would have been, I think, remarkable.
And there's a thing of the Black Panthers that I don't think gets talked about enough, is that they were tackling, I don't want to say future problems, but they were tackling class issues at a time where people weren't necessarily prepared to have that conversation. But I think they understood it as like one of the linchpins of, it's not that the racial issues aren't important, and they're like, I don't think you could walk away from anything that is said and be like, oh, you don't care about black issues. Like, what do you think? Like, that'd be some wild twisting of the words. But I think they recognized there's some class structural issues that it's like, and when they go to the different groups, the Puerto Rican groups in Chicago, I guess the poor rural whites, or the poor whites of Chicago, and they're like, hey, yes, we can unify on these same things. It's like, you're getting, like, you need to understand that you're getting screwed just as bad as we are, and like unifying as a group in that same singular vision. It was a very, like, that in that moment when in front of the Cook County Jail. That scene was really good of having the different leaders of their various factions having a moment to speak. And even though the Crowns, that's like one technical thing about, like, the Crowns weren't an actual gang in Chicago, but they ended up being like an amalgamation for some other groups coming in later into it. And I'm like, that was great to see that. So it speaks directly to your point about what would that have been like for Chicago? Yeah. And then, like, if you lay that model out for Chicago, in the late 60s, early 70s, what does that, fought out long 30, 40 years, like, what does that do to other cities?
Yeah, what would that do to Detroit? Like, if the same model applied to Detroit, it wouldn't be the, recovering hellhole that it's been for the past 40 years. Hellhole might be a bit harsh, but it's, Detroit unfortunately didn't have the diverse economic portfolio of that Chicago had, when which hit them way harder than it did Chicago.
And then housing crisis,
yes,
like, they've gotten hit harder. Like, and I think I do want to be careful, like, because I also live in a city that, media wise, I would say, like, Detroit, St. Louis, Baltimore are painted in certain pictures by, like, national media that's kind of not. Like, there was a politician in Baltimore running for Elijah Cummings' old seat, and showed one block of Baltimore that just had it was like, and yeah, you're right, that block looks like shit. It does. Yeah. That is not the
one block.
That is one block. It's like, I can pick stuff here in St. Louis that has that same. It's like, but that's a housing issue. It's literally just this section of space after foreclosures and people left the area, like no one came back to it. Doesn't mean not necessarily. I'm not saying there aren't bad spots in cities, like, because there are. There's definitely some neighborhoods that are like, you probably shouldn't be there. And it's not not necessarily an indictment on people living there, because they probably would also like having better infrastructure around them. But it's like, that is not the entirety of the city. And when you paint like a brush like that, again, so it's like, go to Detroit now. Detroit's pretty sweet. Detroit's pretty awesome now. But there definitely probably was a time period when you had everything on top of each other, like having come through multiple housing crises on their own before you ever get to 2008. And then just, it's like, yeah, that'd be a rough place to kind of go start yourself over. It's like, hey, I'm going to go move there and be successful. It's like, maybe not the, but yeah, I'm not saying you were doing that. I just want to make sure we're not constantly putting that paintbrush back on them. It's like,
yeah,
it's like there are issues that it does not.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been cool. It just would have been cool to see, and I like that because I feel like some people. The reason I bring up the class thing too is like I feel like some people are going to argue with Fred's politics, not just like his racial social issues, but like he's a socialist and he's quoting communists and different things like that. And I'm like,
yeah.
The main pushback I would have is that, sure, fine, you don't agree with those ideologies of those particular leaders. It's like, and there's maybe some of the people that he quotes that I'd be like, I also don't necessarily agree with that. It's like, but the system that we're currently in is not flawless either. It's like so
Texas.
So it's like. He's like, yeah, even if your goal was I want to hodgepodge and create something that's a blend of, sure, fine. I don't care what the heck you call the system. I just want the most optimal system. If it ends up being 100% of one thing or some hodgepodge and pools of other stuff, great. But whatever you need to call it to make yourself feel better, if you want to call it capitalism 3.0 and it's actually 80% socialism, I don't care. I do not care. But give me the thing that's working. Don't keep pounding your chest about this thing that's clearly got issues. So I feel like, yeah, everyone's going to be taking different political minds into that film, and I hope they don't go in there and be like, oh
well, he was a socialist, and
so yeah, they're definitely terrorists because look at the things that they were like. Okay. You missed a lot. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna refrain from going down a political rabbit hole right now, political / economic / trade rabbit hole, because just because you have socialism doesn't mean that you don't have a market. And yeah, I was really moved by a lot of things that he was saying. I was really moved by a lot of the efforts that he was making, and very upset about the entire how it unfolded for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking earlier about the Judas and how they portrayed him as almost neutral in this, which I think is also kind of interesting because it was a bit of a condemnation of how police work, or how the FBI works, in that, they call him the title is Judas and the Black Messiah, but really Judas freely, part of the whole mythology of that is that Judas freely turned in Jesus, whereas in the movie he was caught and then basically forced to do this every single time, and they revisit that conversation several times. Every time he talks to the FBI agent, he's like, I'm done. I need to be out of this. When can I be out of this? He's like, nope, not yet. I'm going to put you in prison if you don't. And
his autonomy was robbed very early.
Yes.
And I don't think they use it to pivot into sympathy, which I think is a key
Yes.
is a key thing. It's like understanding, sure, but sympathy is kind of like it's kind of going to that hope we talked about. It's like, and I feel like that's why that works so great, to see what could have been and how it was robbed of, like, but still your actions have taken away this possibility, like, from a lot of, it's not just Fred, it's not just his family, it's not just the party. It's like like these decisions, and again, I thought about calling him like an agent of chaos, but I just talked about his autonomy being gone. So I'm like, so I think a vessel might be a better way to say it. It's like chaos and dissensions being funneled through him, but it's not really something that him as an individual would choose to do. So.
Agreed. And it just my thoughts on him was he wasn't in jail, but he also wasn't free throughout that entire time. So, yeah, he's being robbed of his autonomy is a good way to put it.
And so, performance-wise, Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith, Daniel was fantastic. Just super charismatic. And then you're talking about when Fred's speaking, but I'm just like, I'm here. Yeah, and you can kind of see why when you read reports about Fred, how he could be so captivating to people around him, and now I was like, okay, I can believe he could walk into that space, and as scary
get a bunch of racist rednecks.
Because I'm with the guy that's like, I forgot who it was that was in the car. I was like, I'm not going in there without my gun. And he's like, then I guess you're staying here in the car. That would be me. I'd be nervous. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it.
But yeah, also Dominique Fishback was fantastic. I thought that was her part of the story is so heartbreaking as well, because that it just, you could feel her fear for him and for her future. In the second half or the last quarter of the movie.
And that conversation in the bed was great.
Oh, yes. And also her panic near the end, or when the end arrives. Just oof.
Because since we do have the Judas and Jesus parallel, and I know I'm the atheist heathen, and but I can still think back to at least when I was in that time period and watching Passion of the Christ. And one, I actually be curious how I think about that movie now. I won't get us into that tangent. But I am kind of curious what I would think about it now. But I still remember the betrayal scene and like the subsequent torture that was happening afterwards as being very, like, if you think about a hopeful moment, or you think about what the people around him wanted to have happen, it's been taken from them. As you kind of like, I feel like I kind of feel that same like anger and or like sadness as you're watching the raid on the apartment. That's like, because you're seeing, like, it is, you're actively watching hope dissipate in that scene. Like, what's going to happen. Even if you had no knowledge of this movie, based on everything that's happened.
I mean, just the name itself will tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very much end of the line, and it's over. There have been glimpses of hope coming back, like even when the center gets burned and the group community comes back together to rebuild.
Yes.
Like that. Those are like nice moments of like, we're gonna come back together. Or even when he's talking before the raid happens of like, why are you focused on me? It's like, it's not about me. It's like, y'all need to be doing, like, he talks about giving the money to the clinic. I'd gladly give my years in jail to make sure that money happens to the clinic. It's like, so it's like easy decision. It's like, but again, like, I think that scene was just so well executed and you just see it evaporate. You kind of feel it just kind of.
Yeah, it's. I mean, knowing what happens and watching them rebuild the clinic was like, there was this moment where I was just like, oh, they're rebuilding the clinic, great, and then I'm like, oh, they're rebuilding the clinic, crap, and yeah, it's woof.
Yeah, we're so excited. So,
yes.
But yeah, if you've not watched it, it's on HBO Max. Definitely recommend you go check that out. I had an opportunity to see it in a private screening, so I did take advantage of that. If you are going to go see it at a theater and have an opportunity to put like dollars towards it, please do that safely. But I'd still recommend it's on HBO Max. If you already had that as a streaming, that's the safer option and go do that. I know that doesn't always necessarily translate to the same amount of support to the director or to the artist, but in these times, like HBO seeing that thing has been streamed multiple times can definitely help them on future projects that they might want to bid on and purchase to be seen on HBO Max. So again, not advocating for it to go to the theater. A stream on HBO Max is still impactful, and if you can get if you like it, encourage other friends to watch it as well. And the soundtrack, really like the score of it, because all these downstring notes for O'Neill's character as he's kind of getting further and further into the web. But the actual soundtrack of the movie is really good. It's up on Spotify as well. So some new work for it as well, and some old tracks like some Nipsey Hussle out of the recently deceased 2017, 2018, and got some good tracks from him on it. So it just if you understand the feeling and the themes of the movie, you listen to that soundtrack, you're like, oh, this all tracks. Like, yes, this all tracks. It's really good.
Yep.
And
so, go see the movie.
Go see the movie. But we're gonna move. And one thing, Ryan Coogler. I want to give a shout out to him as his production companies helped produce this. This is when
nice.
He helped grease the wheels to make sure this thing happened. So even though this is Shaka King's like sophomore film debut, or at least feature film debut, he's done some other stuff. Like shout out to Coogler and that team, like making sure this comes to fruition. So like seeing black executives helping other black directors, or other black directors helping other black directors. It's good. I like it.
So, and after you watch that, go pop on a Netflix and go see the Chicago 7 as a follow-up, which also has a Fred Hampton.
I forget who plays Fred Hampton in that one.
I can't remember, but I have heard that Keaton makes an interesting cameo. Oh yeah, speaking of Martin Sheen as Hoover.
He's like, that was very good because it comes in. It's got the gravitas that you need for it to have.
Yes, and also he was in some ways unrecognizable. Like I know it's Martin Sheen.
Yeah, I can never forget. Listen to Jed Bartlett too much, then I'd be like. And you know what? I think that it worked. I think that helped because I've had Jed Bartlett in the head, and then seeing him playing a different official, but in an effectively a white nationalist role. Let's be completely honest, because that's really what it was. It may not have sounded like completely like Richard Spencer, but the degree of separation there is zero. It really is. And the scene of him and Jesse Plemons when they have the conversation in the office, and it's like doubling on to it. So like even if you're kind of like, oh, even if your view of Black Panthers was terrorists, and you're like, oh, he's hunting after terrorists, like no. And then the office scene of him and Jesse Plemons, like that should have been the key moment to be like, that's not what this is about. And even Jesse Plemons, when he's just like got a smidgen of uncomfortable with it, still ultimately is like, yeah, well, we're doing what we need to protect the country. All right, cool. All right.
Yeah, like I do appreciate the fact that they did not pull any punches on the idea that Hoover was a racist, because and that in no way was he a great man. He just did some great terrible things.
Yeah. And I see now why Plemons is getting picked for that lead role in that Scorsese film. It's like it. I'm not saying I didn't like him before, but I think I've seen him in game. It's a game night, date night. And it's
it was game night
stuff. So I think it's nice to get a reminder, like, oh yes, he does have dramatic chops. That's right. So I'd be curious to see what happens to him in that Scorsese project.
And actually, what really blew me away was as he was playing that serious role, and my brain is not he reminded me of Philip Seymour Hoffman a lot.
Yes, Yes.
It just felt like he was Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He's got some Hoffman vibes.
Yeah.
Now but since he's done the comedic stuff, I kind of curious what would happen if he needs to get a little more energetic. Like if he needs to be in a dramatic role but get a little more frenzied, I'm kind of curious if he can pull that part off. So I'd be, I kind of want to see that. But yes, I feel like everything else of Hoffman's repertoire, I kind of see it a little. Yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, dang, Tom, that's good. Not saying you don't have.
I'm done. I'm
you're just like I'm out. That's the best I can do today.
That's the best I got.
All right. Well, we do want to end on some fun notes, so we will do. Wanda will be the last thing we talk about, but we're trying to do comfort movies 2 weeks ago. And I didn't want to do it last week when you were out. So, what are comfort movies? These are movies that they don't necessarily need to be funny or comedies or anything like that. This is totally up to you. It's probably the most subjective of the subjective things we talk about on this show. But it is, if it's a rainy day and you need this is a movie I can pop in and I'm always going to enjoy it, or it's always going to hit a need that I have for that particular day. Feeling down, or maybe even if it's just maybe you're having a good day, you're just like, you know what, I'm having a good day. Let's watch and insert the movie here. So
much like your mom's soup, or other comfort foods, comfort movies. So we got Tom's gonna go first, but before he does that, if y'all have a comfort movie and you want to throw it into the chat, definitely let us know. No, folks, I'm a little quiet out there. I know we haven't. I don't see anything on. Yeah, I don't think we have Tyrion and the usual fan base.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have a Tyrion, not a Tyrion. If you have we have a Tyrion. You go get your own Tyrion. But if you have a comfort movie that you want to talk about, or just tell us a name and why it's your comfort movie. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to tell us, but we'd love for you to say why it's your comfort movie. But Tom, go ahead and take it away. And maybe we end up having one. We share one, but I guess you could save that one for last on yours, and we'll lead that into mine.
Yes. The first movie I have is True Lies, and it doesn't hold up perfectly, but it doesn't flop as much as others do. The Revenge of the Nerds. But yes, if you think about it too much, it's a movie about a guy who's lied to his wife for 15 years, but it's so fun. It is lighthearted. It's a fun movie.
To your spouse is fun.
They turn this horrible premise of lying to your wife for 15 years and an imminent terrorist attack on the United States, and they turn it into this very fun film that is also about him and his wife trying to reconcile and rebuild their marriage through this crisis, etc. It's wonderfully performed by Schwarzenegger, by Jamie Lee Curtis, and a very young Eliza Dushku.
Oh, that's right, the daughter.
Also,
we're talking about True Lies. So yeah. True Lies,
and
James Cameron.
Yep.
I would also argue it's the best because everyone automatically goes Aliens, Terminators for James Cameron, but I'm like, this is the best non of those, because I know you got a couple other I much rather would watch this than Titanic or Avatar. So
and honestly, I like this better than Terminator 2, and I like this.
Whoa.
Yeah,
but, hey, you know what? It's your sorry, I apologize.
Yes.
Let me reel that back. This is not us critiquing the movie. I need to pause myself, because I was about to be like, "What are you doing?" This is comfort movie, and I don't necessarily on a Judgment Day ain't something I want to pop in.
Exactly. like, and that's the dichotomy of True Lies for me, is that while yes, it's talking about a nuclear explosion in Miami potentially, and it's all this very serious stuff, but it's delivered in such a lighthearted way that you're invested, but you're more invested in them succeeding and getting together and redoing and rebuilding what they have. Mm-hmm. And also Bill Paxton makes that film as the cheesy used car salesman, and it's he kind of plays a foil. He's the one who's trying to seduce Harry Tasker's wife, and also Tom. What is his last name? Married Barr? Roseanne Barr.
I know who you're talking about.
Well, we'll call him Tom Barr for right now, because why not?
Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold. He is such a great sidekick and supporting actor in this as well. And
it's the right amount of Tom Arnold.
Yes, the moment that they find out that this guy who they thought was a spy, who was trying to seduce his wife to get to him because they know he's a spy, it's like, he's a goddamn used car salesman. Tom Arnold's injections into that film are just wonderful. That film actually made me like Tom Arnold. I couldn't stand him before as a kid growing up, when he and Roseanne were kind of flying off the handle a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, True Lies is my first one.
All right. Yeah. What do you got? Actually, let me see. Independence.
Nell has
to get all of that. That's a hot take, and I love it. All right. And then A Knight's Tale. Hey, it's your comfort movie. This is not a judge of critique or quality. It's just, as I had to correct myself, this is just about what do you like and why do you like it. So, I mean, young Heath Ledger, you get Vision before he becomes
young Vision, yeah.
Young Vision before he becomes disembodied voice. Alan Tudyk gets a job again. I feel like I'm forgetting some names. There's some other the one guy that plays the evil guy in almost every other movie. He's like the bad guy in Legend of Zorro. He plays Alexander Hamilton in the HBO John Adams miniseries.
Oh yeah. Actually, can you repeat what somebody said about they were too young to get True Lies?
Yeah, that was it. They were saying they were too young to get all that.
Oh, well then watch it as an adult.
And fitness is Knight's Tale is better than it has any right to be. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, and also I think the other thing is, again, I know we're not critiquing, but I think the other thing to note about it is think about the time period that's coming out. Pre 9/11. This is after Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I don't think Mission Impossible had come out yet, or was about to come.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. And it does. So I like your Tom Arnold point there, because like it is doing some of the best elements of like the buddy coppery, or at least some of the interactions like of Riggs Murtaugh, without really being a cop movie. It's got a pretty solid spy mechanic or spy arc in there, and it's just like Shane Black enough to not be ridiculous. Right?
Yeah,
it doesn't go like, yeah, you should have got.
Yes. Do you know how long it's been since you've flown a Harrier?
It's like, so yeah, there's that dash of ridiculousness that's like, it's not so much that it just takes you out of it.
Yeah. Yep. And it came out in '94, so that was just after. A couple years after Desert Storm. And just after the first World Trade Center bombing. Mm-hmm. So, yay!
Yeah. I'd be curious if that marks the transition from like European bad guys to brown bad guys. But
yes.
We'll talk about
that. One other thing, I've always wanted them to make a True Lies 2, and I've wanted it to be with Eliza Dushku playing Harry Tasker's role. and she's lying to her husband for 15 years that she's a spy, and it's a similar story.
So Spy Kids, got it.
Yes, sure, okay. But you know, Cameron-y awesome.
Spy Kids.
So, what is your first comfort movie?
It is Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka terrified the heck out of me as a child.
Me
I
too.
think everyone knows what scene I'm talking about. the riverboat. Like now, I like mockingly like sing it to people just to throw them off, and they're like, "Could you not sing that?" I'm like, "But no, I'm going to continue."
As the song keeps whirling and turning.
Just don't sing, please. You would. I would. I do. It's a nice thing to have in your back pocket. A song that immediately strikes fear in the hearts of your enemies. Now, being a big Ronald Dahl fan, and knowing that, yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the correct name, but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. But yeah, it's Gene Wilder being Gene Wilder first off, because that's just so that can always be. And I almost want to just put in. I almost would have put in any Gene Wilder film, and like, if that's what works in your brain, I also would be okay with that. You know, because we could be like Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. Like I'd be fine. Or any of his team ups with Richard Pryor. Or he's got a couple of Gregory Hines as well. So yeah, I'd be fine with that as well. But Willy Wonka, just definitely just because I watched it so much as a kid, it's still got that childhood connection of like, yeah, it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy back inside. And hey, we turn those songs into dope bangers.
Yes, and I mean you get life lessons out of it. But I can never forgive the grandpa.
Oh, the grandparents are terrible. They're atrocious.
Well, but that one specific grandpa is like, hey, I'm going to hang out in bed. I'm an invalid. Oh, you get to go to the factory? Well, watch me do some backflips. I could work this whole time.
I could have been busting my butt making some money for the family, but no. All right. Tom, what do you got next?
So this is probably my most problematic one, is Cannonball Run. That one does not hold up, but so cars are a big part of my life. The first memory I ever have is my father buying a car, is me being in the car with him as he's going to pick it up. And there is something about the very beginning of that movie when you're in the desert and you just see this car and it's silence for a second, and then the roar of the engine as it's being chased by the police, and the entire credit scene is this Lamborghini. You have no idea who's driving it, and they're just evading the police right and left. And it's wonderful. And I have this appreciation for, shall we say, almost harmless criminals in this, because I mean the entire story is about an illegal race across the country.
So like the people in the Smokey and the Bandit category.
Yes, like it's Smokey and the Bandit times 10, and real as well. Though I think Smokey and the Bandit might be based off of a legend, but the Cannonball Run has been a running thing since like the 50s. And actually over the past couple of years during COVID, somebody broke the record. And I think made it across the country in under 30 hours or 36 hours.
What?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Did they have like Need for Speed fueling trucks though?
I don't know if they had fueling trucks, but I think they did have an extra tank on the car. So it was absolutely. I think that they averaged like 120 or 110 miles an hour throughout the entire thing. It was absolutely ridiculous. The film has a lot of problems that didn't exist in the late 70s, early 80s, or that people paid no mind to.
I was going to say.
So they did exist, people didn't care. It was cute. So you have to jump over that hurdle, and then it's a hurdle that I struggle with now, even though that movie's been in my mind since I was like 3. So yeah, Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run. Let me go to the comments a little bit. I've been accused of having a yellow ring and being with the Sinestro Corps. But hey, that's what I need to do to strike fear into folks. Let's see. Taryn saying comfort movies are all in the Beauty and the Beast realm, animated Disney, and then Penelope. Ooh, Penelope. Isn't that oh, gosh, I can see her face. Oh no. It's not Winona Ryder. Dang it. Casper. Christina Ricci, thank you.
Oh, Christina Ricci, yes.
Nell and Taryn at the same time. Then Nell's got 1977 Winnie the Pooh. Because childhood, yeah. And then Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Don't ask me why. I don't need to ask you why, because it's Tucker and Dale.
Yeah, it's what you want. I mean, silently judging, but no.
These kids are tripping all over themselves just to kill themselves. He jumped in head first to the wood chipper. I love that movie. Oh my gosh. I might watch that as I'm editing this later. Oh, Tucker and Dale. So, is it me next?
Yeah, that is you. What cheerful film do you have next?
The Dark Knight.
Oh.
I have watched this in theaters more times than I care to admit. It's in the double digits. And particularly the summer it came out. I wore it out. Thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. And particularly if I need a comfort superhero movie. Why it comforts me, I don't know. It might just be production quality. It could be that. It could just be like, it's so beautiful. So it could be something like that. Which actually, for my next one, that makes a ton of sense. Why I like it for that. But yeah, I just say I'm not saying I actually don't think it's the best Nolan movie. And I know that might be people would be like, "Oh, how dare you!" Like, I feel like the most Nolan-esque movie is not The Dark Knight. This could be his best movie, but I don't think it's the most Nolan. I don't think it's got all of his hallmarks in it. And now Lindy Pitt is like, Dark Knight is a cheerful movie. You're definitely in a Sinestro Corps. All right. Hey, I'll take it. Now, I don't feel like I watch it as much as I used to, and that's probably because of the one further down on my list, which we'll get to. But yeah, I just score-wise can quote probably 90% of the movie still, like if I needed to start from memory. And I apologize to all my friends in college in the year 2008 in that summer. You know what I did? I drove you all nuts with a Joker impersonation. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was that guy.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't know you then.
And yeah, Heath was perfect. And you know, I guess that might be a conversation for another day. Michael Jai White was on it might have been the Collider comic podcast recently, talking about his career, but they inevitably got to The Dark Knight, and he really pushed back against the narrative about the role of the Joker killing him. Now, he's not saying that he wasn't depressed and wasn't having other issues going on. It's like that's been documented, that's been talked about. But he's like, I don't think it was because of. Yeah, I just thought that was a very telling statement. If I can find the link to the podcast, I'll throw it in there. So again, I want to make sure we get to the other movies, but I also have never felt that. And again, it's not saying that anybody can't be dealing with depression and not show outward signs. So like, yeah, maybe when he was on set playing the Joker, he wasn't like, at least to how people talked about him on set. It's like, yeah, he could turn it on and off. He could be in the Joker role, but then be like, hey, joking back and forth for folks. So
As my uncle said, it's called acting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not. But I think it's kind of a little bit of a lazy narrative to be like, yeah, this must have been the thing. He must have been wrestling with it so much that this is what killed him. It's like, or he could be dealing with depression and had other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this might be a thing on top of it, but I don't think it was the cause. So.
Yeah, I think Heath Ledger had issues. It was. This might have been a catalyst, but it wasn't. It wasn't the only thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tom.
Yeah.
What's your? I think this is a category, I believe, right?
Yes, I cheated a little bit because I have a hard time putting it down, but down to one. But it's Scorsese films, just because they are so technically perfect, and I've discovered that I have an appreciation for competent evilness in television or in movies. Like when they show somebody like the mob, and they're successfully pulling things off. It just and kind of breaking the law. I guess that kind of goes back to Cannonball Run as well.
Or like so this isn't a Scorsese film, but like Heat.
No, it's mostly Scorsese because like Heat's okay.
Well, no, but I was saying, but the bad guys in that are executing their plans. Oh yeah. So that's what I meant.
Yes.
Not the
Yeah, but like, most notably Wolf of Wall Street, because that gives me nostalgia for working at wirehouses. Goodfellas, Casino. I think Departed, Scorsese.
Yeah.
And though Departed is kind of a comedy for me because the Boston accents, man, it's just you can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, it can be a bit much.
Who was the guy? The Departed.
The Departed.
So yeah, Scorsese films, man. If I'm just having a day and I want to unwind, I'll throw one of those 4 or 5 on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any. I would say probably on my. Do you rush to go watch The Irishman though?
I have not seen The Irishman yet. Much like what I'm going to struggle with for Justice League.
It's long.
3.5 hours is a bit much for me.
I said on Monday that we found the official release time is going to be 2 a.m. Eastern, and people are like, "Oh yeah, so you're going to stay up?" Or no, it'd be 2 a.m. Eastern or 2 a.m. Central for us. It'd be like 3 a.m. Eastern for other folks, and I'm like, "No, I'm not going to stay up to what? No. Are you insane? That means I'll be up till 6, and then won't wake up to be able to write the review." Like, no.
People on the East Coast are going to stay up, watch it, and then go to work.
No, so yeah, that's insane.
No.
Cool. My next one is one of my favorite indies, or one of my most favorite small production films. And before Rian Johnson did Looper, Last Jedi, or Knives Out, or actually, I guess this would be a good example. If you love Knives Out, you will love Brick. If you like tightly written dialogue and just having characters bounce off each other and like establishing a universe very quickly, like Brick is the movie for you. I can enjoy watching it at any time because the writing, like the way they talk amongst one another, and it's like, hey, we're gonna pull in this old Perry Mason kind of gumshoe detective noir thing, and kind of like the language people would use as they're narrating or talking to, like, this woman walked into my office and I knew she was up to no, like that kind of craziness. Not to that, they don't talk necessarily to that degree, but to like kind of give a throwback to that and throw it into a high school setting, and then to see these. It's not college age kids acting in it. It's like JGL, get a good Joseph Gordon-Levitt performance, and Rachel McAdams, and I'm forgetting. Not dang, I'm forgetting a few names that kind of pop up throughout it. And you're like, oh wait, I know you. And you're like, these teenagers are acting out a really dark crime mystery. Like, what the? Because when we kind of pull back about it, it's like it's a fun dialogue, but it's like, oh, it's kind of heavy. It's like y'all should not be. JGL's character as the school detective, like, you should not have to be dealing with this. This is awful. And the adults are terrible. The adults are just like allowing so many things to happen. Right? They're basically inconsequential to the plot, because they're just like they're going to be the ones that arrest someone at the end of the day, but they're basically, it seems like they have no effect on these people. So I love that. Again, Knives Out. If you love Knives Out, go watch Brick, and you'll see where, like, oh, that's why he was able to. Okay, this is where his track record is of writing people quickly and making something come together super quick, in the same way that you see that in Knives Out. So it started here in Brick.
Nice. My next one is The Explorers, which a lot of people may have never heard of. But this is a near and dear movie in my childhood, which has a young River Phoenix in it.
Oh, what are you? No.
So it is a movie about three friends, one of whom is being haunted by dreams of technological stuff, and through his dreams, he starts drawing what he sees in his dreams, and his friend, who's a computer guy, it was the 80s, says, oh, I can build this. This is a processor chip. I can build this in my basement. And then proceeds to build it, and it turns out that it is a tool to allow people to build, to transport themselves all over the place. And they then decide to build a ship and test it out to see if they can make it into space. And they do, and hilarity ensues. It is a fantastic kids movie that I still enjoy today. It's what's great is that they run into aliens, and it turns out that the aliens I won't give that part away, but the aliens only know about us through TV. And so, like, when they first meet him, or when they first meet the main alien, he only can communicate to them in Ricky Ricardo from I Love Lucy, or theme songs from 1950s TV shows. And it's hilarious.
So it's the original Bumblebee.
Yes. Actually, yes. I think in some ways they stole some of that from the Explorers.
Very cool. Also, I mean, just a River Phoenix appearance, tragic life was tragically cut short, and really kind of very curious to see what he would have continued producing if he were still alive, or gotten to do some more projects. So I'd be curious to, because that's definitely one I have not seen. No kind of know of it, but yeah, I'd be curious to see.
I'd be curious to see what you think of it.
Yeah. Let me go through the comments. Thank you to everyone so for those that are joining us a little late, we are talking comfort movies. So if some folks have dropped theirs into the comments, and definitely like some of the ones that have been thrown out. But again, it's not about what we like. These are your comfort movies. So we just like you sharing and getting involved in the conversation. So yeah, you can post that. We see you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So if you want to drop those in, and me and Tom are going to talk about our last one before we do Wandavision and then wrap up tonight's show. So we had a shared comfort movie, so we saved it for last. And me and Tom. So this makes Tom's Nolan entry and my second Nolan entry, but we both had Interstellar. And I know for some folks the ending probably takes them out of it a little bit. That's kind of one of the common critiques of it, is that they just don't get into that last part about the construct and how he passes on information to his child, or that some of the dialogue there between I forgot Anne Hathaway's character's name. Wow.
Anne Hathaway's character.
That because it's Nolan doesn't write women well. Nolan just does not write women well. Not saying that's a pass, and which is also weird because of his wife Emma Thomas. Think she could take over a little bit more of those duties to flesh those characters out. So, I mean, she's right there. She's been your executive producer for years. So, Christopher, why don't you, that's not that hard. Ask your brother, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. They flesh out women characters much better than... Okay, anyway. Sorry. I know we weren't going to critique. But hey, it's a space movie. And it's more interesting than 2001. I said it. Go back and rewatch 2001. Aside from the Howl act, which is what everyone thinks about when they watch that movie, Act 1 and Act 3 are boring.
It's
boring to tears.
I'll even say it's more boring than WandaVision. The first 3 episodes of WandaVision.
I'm gonna slap the taste out your mouth and put some south in your mouth. How dare you?
Yes.
How dare you, good sir?
I have to say that the organ music for space was a much better choice than the chorus of people making ghost noises in 2001.
But we get horns.
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. And everyone can do that, but they don't even know what sequence that comes from. Another boring sequence out of 2001. I said.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to critique 2001. It just comes up so much. They'll be like, and I say that, and people are like, "What?" I'm like, I gotta rewatch Interstellar all day, which is why it's on my list of these comfort movies.
But the other thing that but one of the reasons why I make the parallel, and I presume you do as well, is that Interstellar is possibly one of the most space accurate movies, as big as it is. A blockbuster space accurate film.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking some liberties, but I would say they're informed liberties, especially like the black hole sequence. Was it Rip Torn is the astrophysicist that worked on the black hole tech on that, and the modeling that Hollywood did for that black hole was so good that it has then been studied for like a visual representation of a black hole that we hadn't had before, and has been helpful for people trying to spot black holes in space. That's how good it was, and how well informed it was.
Yeah, and what happens in a black hole, it's who knows, and but also it kind of answers the question of, what happens in a black, or it's unrealistic. I'm like, we're talking about humanity that eventually learned how to bend space and time into black holes and wormholes. We have, this is basically a Type 3 civilization, and I'll say it, our feeble minds have no concept of what they could possibly do with that. Like, Michiro Kaku would say, like, we could have a Type 3 civilization in the solar system next to us, and we would not be able to even recognize that they're there, because it's just that far advanced that we couldn't even comprehend it. And so, yeah, it's the story is wonderful. The acting is great. The only thing that takes me out of it is the fist fight on the ice clouds. That's the only thing where I'm just like, oh God, really?
But it does lead to the best sequence in the movie, in my opinion. From the time when he's trying to dock until he gets into the black hole. I remember being in IMAX and not being able to really like relax in the seat.
No.
Because I was like, and this is a brilliant shot from earlier in the movie, they show you what a clean docking looks like. you kind of get, you get that. So then we got the intermediary of the, well, if he doesn't, like, we don't necessarily know that the explosion is going to happen for sure, but like, this isn't good because this isn't going to, so like, from all of that until he falls into the black hole, I'm just kind of like, and then Zimmer's score, and I hate the Zimmer criticism. And it's like, it's all brah, brah. I'm like, he doesn't do that as much as y'all think he does. But sure, let's say that's you can't say that about that scene because that's not what's happening. It's like I'm gonna pluck on your heartstrings. Are they gonna make it?
Yes.
I don't know.
that wasn't bra. That was fast-paced organ music, like light fingering on organ music. Giggity. Sorry, but
I was thinking it too. You're good. You're an immature company. You're good.
Yes. So, like, I mean, the music actually intensified that scene, and it just, that scene went so well that, like, internationally known wet blanket Neil deGrasse Tyson even said that was a really well done and pretty accurate scene as to, like, how that type of emergency dock would happen if it were to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's so well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I actually liked Matthew McConaughey in this.
Yeah, he's whether he's believable as I imagine him as like a younger, not Tommy Lee Jones, but he's also in this movie. Clint Eastwood in Space Cowboys. Like,
gosh, yes.
Yeah, I can fly that. Yeah, I can do that. It's like, can you take all the attitude from Donald Sutherland and Tommy Lee Jones and Clint Eastwood, put it into McConaughey, but be like younger, and it's like that's his character. It's like, Marv, I gotta go to space. Don't leave me, Marv. Marv. Sorry, I said Marv like it's freaking Homer.
Yeah.
Merv.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, that is definitely a comfort movie, even though it reminds me of a serious potential future that we may face.
Yeah.
Without the joy of having a further in the future superior human race to give us a hand.
I guess the last thing I'll say, the scene, I think like I talked about the docking and that whole sequence, the lead before and after, like how it's got me to see. I think, and the internet has devalued this a little bit because they showed the McConaughey getting the messages and crying in the seat. But like when they come back from the water planet and their colleague is old, definitely like in his 60s, and you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're like, oh no, like, and that was already tension when you're down there on the planet. And hello, Marshall Newberry, thank you for liking the stream. I appreciate it. It's like we already knew, like, as that's getting like bad on the planet, like, oh, this is taking time. You're like, but yeah, that visual hit that happens there, and then when you see the children on the video calls, and he's kind of getting. That progression of life happened, like, and he's got to sit there and get for the backlog of messages. Like, I mean, because that's an aspect of space travel that just does not get explored,
No,
it's in books all the time, but as far as like actual on-screen representation of like, hey, this is what happens, like, you travel near light, or like get to, and again, to the gravitational pull of the planet, changing the time.
Yeah.
Like, these are scientific concepts, but
the only other one that I can think of that really makes that a plot point is Aliens.
Oh, right, when because he's been in cryo for so long, and but also just in general, their jobs would also just take. You could be much older from having been in cryo sleep, just in a general sense of traveling back and forth. But then obviously getting lost between the first and second movie, just like. Compounds that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. So yeah, folks,
yeah.
Interstellar on me and Tom's list of comfort movies. two that we enjoy a bunch.
Actually, did we see Interstellar together?
No, I definitely, because that would have been when I was in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah. So I definitely every time an IMAX movie came out for the first time, I had a Thursday night reservation immediately to go see it. Then because I think it's probably 2017, 2018 we started seeing more movies together.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking about stuff before that point, but I think it's probably when we were seeing more. It's like, oh yeah, I'm here this weekend, and then we can
oh yeah, this is coming out. Let's watch Black Klansman with George Lucas.
Marshall asks, "Where's Jerry?" Well, this is me and Tom's show on Wednesdays. So Jerry's usually on with us on Mondays. So
yes,
I do think he wanted to talk to me about Avatar stuff more. He was like, or I think he was talking about like I should jump in and talk Avatar, but I don't think we got that. We didn't get those wires together, before we got on the show. All right, Tom, do you want to do WandaVision? Because I know we're getting up to like the 2-hour mark, so we could.
Yeah, we can do a quick. Let's try and control ourselves a bit.
Try to control ourselves. All right, folks, because we got the spoiler text, we will put that up. So if you don't want to talk WandaVision, definitely feel we won't be hurt if you need to leave. But we're gonna talk WandaVision. So this assumes that you've seen up to episode 7. Episode 8 comes out late night tomorrow, Friday morning. So we only have 2 more episodes left in the season, but I will put the spoiler text up. Do my air horn noise as I've been doing the last couple weeks. And here we go. I was right, bitches! I was right!
Yep.
God dang it! Sorry. If there had been someone next to me when I was watching it, I would have punched him in the arm. I would have thrown stuff up and... Now, to be fair, I'm not saying I was calling her like Agatha Harkness from the get-go. I still had to go do my I had to do my due diligence, my Marvel research into the Marvel wiki. Forgot Okish. It's not like I had Agatha Harkness pulled right. I am at least calling the suspect on her from the early episodes, though, which is why I felt I talked about on my Facebook page. She's the only one that gets an intro. So when you notice, and I made a comparison between her and Kramer, and I'd use like Evangeline or Monica's character compared to like a Newman in like a Seinfeld. When Kramer busts into the scene, if you had never watched Seinfeld before, you would know that Kramer was a lead character in some degree because of the way that he comes on the screen. So yes, the door busts open, but the camera is on him. It's fixed in this space, and they're gonna have to interact. Whereas if Newman were to come through the door, it's not the same. It's not going to be the same impact. Let's say if it was even Newman without Kramer, it's still not going to have the same impact.
No. In fact, like most of the time when Newman would walk into the door, they'd show him walking into the door and then cut to Jerry saying, "Hello, Newman."
Right.
So, yeah.
So my suspicions for Agatha were on immediately from the first episode because we got to see Vision working at the computing office. Norm is definitely a coworker, but it's not elevated to that level. So there could have been some suspicion on Norm, which then gets dispelled a couple episodes later. But Agatha was like, like why in this universe, which you still don't understand yet, why are you a co-star? Why does no one else have that status? So that was the thing that was bugging me for the longest. And then key number 2, what of all the people they got a ton of visual on, right? That they can see a lot of. Why was she not one of the missing persons determined on the board? Like we get the Hearts, we get Norm, we get the black guy from the neighborhood.
Her husband.
We get everybody, but except for the one person we've seen the most on the screen. Sorry. So those 2, I was like, yeah, sorry. And then some other people called out the Connecticut plates on her car. Very good grab. Very good reference there. Excellent. or was it Massachusetts plates? Not to me, Massachusetts plates have been more on the nose than like, but I guess technically you could, Connecticut's still New England area, you know. So
yes.
So yes, I know I've been rambling so far. I want to get Tom to get in here, but that was just okay. Go ahead.
Well, it confirms my suspicions all along about Quicksilver's recast as well, in that he's probably not Quicksilver.
Yeah, he's probably like.
Or if he is,
yeah, go ahead.
He was ripped from another universe, and then brainwashed into this.
Because the thing that made me think about it was, Agatha may not have the ability to reanimate someone. She might be able to take over, control someone, but she may not be able to like reanimate someone. Just maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just something she can't do. So, but pulling a live Quicksilver from another universe, like you kind of be like, that seems like more whatever. But all you have to do is just write something and be like, I can't bring someone back from the dead, but I do have have access to the same chaotic energy that you do, and could yoink. But someone else has noted, and I didn't notice this. Sorry, I've been tracking the rabbit, but someone noticed this as well. Senior Scratchy, we had not seen him. We never see him in the same shot with Quicksilver. So some people have been talking about Nicholas Scratch could be her. It could be her son that's changing into Quicksilver to play the role for a moment. But again, she's still doing her thing when he walks up to the door. So it seems a little like, why would you need to control your son if that's the case? But they haven't always seen eye to eye in the comics, so that could be the reason for that. But that seems a little too much. But to be fair, like, we never see them on screen together, and we don't see Senior Scratchy again until we get back into her house and Wanda's found out, like, crap, where are my kids? And shit. Say, also, why'd you walk into a basement? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Didn't you watch The Blair Witch? Or any other film?
That was very well coordinated as a horror Get Out moment.
Yeah.
Like, what are you? As soon as this came out of Agatha's mouth, I was like, well, here we go. Them kids ain't down there. Or if they are.
One is standing in the corner. And now you're... Yeah. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Vision on Friday, and Quicksilver, or not Quicksilver, and I'm also quite curious to see, like, what are Vision's limitations being reanimated? Is he just Vision? Is he full on Vision, or is he?
Can he like project the beam from the Mind Stone?
Yeah, because there is no Mind Stone anymore for him to project the beam from.
You know, I mean, because he's been shown using his powers.
He's been flying and running fast.
Well, and he's also phased in and out.
Oh yeah, he has.
Because like he had the baby binkies and his phased in and out. He's walked through a few things. But again, if the hex needs to come down at some point in the next 2 episodes to like finish this. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, now you've taken out one of your allies to be able to do that. Like, he's probably not going to be able to... Yeah, he may be able to help so long as the hex is up, and then that's it. There is a trailer shot, though, that it's like I think it's about the last one we have not seen. And it's... Now, because that book is also kind of glowing off some yellow energy, it could be that they've opened the book that's down in Agatha's basement, which I assume is what she's been having her do. It's like I don't know exactly what's going to happen spell-wise, and there's been some speculation about which book it is, because there's a ton of magical books in Marvel, so it could be a number of things. But part of my thought was, all right, if I need to siphon someone's powers, like how would you go about doing that? I feel like some of the things of pushing her to her limits in the hex is to like weaken her and or like make her more susceptible to like either get Wanda to do the thing that you needed to do, or maybe the whole thing has been, oh yes, as you've been using all this energy, I've been pulling it to cast my own spell that I hadn't been able to do before. Or the dark thing, which I don't know if they're gonna do this with the twins, but her twins have technically in the comics been the soul of two pieces, like pieces of Mephisto's soul, and some people have called out like the devil face that's been in the basement. So I was like, maybe she is still working for Mephisto. But I feel like with 2 episodes left, that still might be a bit too much. It might still be like one more layer to pull off that's just kind of... I feel like you're going to have enough to pull off just talking about what she's doing, what her plan is. So to then drop in like a Dormammu level dude and be like, well, I'm actually working for like maybe a tease at the end of the series. You know, like a end credit that's like, it was Mephisto that had like gotten Agatha to do that might be a better fit. I just feel like in the last 2 episodes that we have, that might be too much. But the reason I said that is like she's got the book in front of her. I don't know if to do the kid thing, but I thought maybe it was the Mind Stone. And again, I know Thanos said he destroyed it, but I didn't buy that when he said it in Endgame. I'm like, sure, but we've also seen the stones just come back throughout the comic.
Like, can you destroy them?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't think that's...
Because it's basically, the stones are the manifestation of energies within the universe. So you might destroy them, but they're gonna, Dr. Manhattan themselves back into existence.
Yeah. So that's what I'm kind of like, I don't know if I didn't buy it in Endgame. So then when I see her knowing how much her power is connected to that stone in this incarnation, and then seeing that trailer shot that still hasn't come, again, it might be in the next episode, it might be at the end. It's like, maybe that's where she got an upgrade or got like a little boost to do some of the things that, or maybe that's the book that she's opened for Agatha. Like, it could be a number of things. I don't know. It was good. The song too, getting the Munsters theme, like kind of.
Oh, that killed me.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So part of me is hoping that Agatha isn't as malicious as we're thinking in this. And,
that's a good point. In the comics, Agatha's not like... Agatha can be mean. It's like she's definitely not... She's not really on like the Avengers side per se, but she did help train up Scarlet, which is as far... But like when she tells her about the kids, it's not like she was doing that to take them from her. She was being straight. She's like, hey, yeah, those aren't... Because she was suspicious of Wanda making the kids in the comics. She was like, hey, yeah, that seems a little sus. Oh, and then Agatha dives into it, and it's like, crap, those are Mephisto's. Like, she's like, Wanda, what did you do? Wanda doesn't handle that well and takes it out on Agatha, but that was her shooting the messenger. Agatha wasn't being nefarious there. She's trying to be legit to her mentee. I'm like, hey, you've stumbled into some energy you should not have played with to make your twins.
And that's the thing. It's like I want to think that this entire, the Hex is basically her danger room and her training ground for developing her powers, and Agatha's helping her without her knowing it necessarily, and also helping her heal. Maybe.
I don't know about that one. And that's so we got a good comment from Ace Davis. But y'all, she killed their dog. Strong side eye. That would be the. I never said she was good. I just don't know if she's being.
Yeah.
And I killed Sparky too. It's some sus. She's definitely her motivation is at least sus, if not. So we may not be ready to put nefarious on it. But again, also I guess if you go by the thread of the theme song, it's like she's relishing in it too. So maybe she doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. I think of her as like the worst small town Texas high school football coach who borderline on evil themselves.
Some Varsity Blues here, right?
Yeah, like, yeah, because I mean, think about it. Like, we've all known that coach. I probably think we've all known that coach that's just like, oh yeah, I pushed those kids so hard today that 3 of them puked, and then they'll like high five over that or something like that. And
she may want to help, but her methods are terrible, and she got a toxic mentality.
Like the only way to get her to get Wanda to focus on something else is to kill the dog. So she killed the dog too. And she relished in the fact that she killed the dog.
We shall see.
Yep.
Catherine Hahn is playing this role.
If there was ever an application for the term chewing up scenery and just chewing up the role, this is it.
Let's see. So I do want to get back to, because Ace Davis, I'm going to get to Monica because I want to tie it into some other things that happened. That's why I brought up Thanos destroying the stones, because it made me think of something. But yeah, we're definitely going to get to Monica because that was also another fantastic, that set piece as she's going through the hex was fantastic. But let me go, let's see. Also, Nell's saying, I also feel like it's how they're helping her process grief, also let her talk about grief. But I mean, I guess if we're talking about the show as a structure, not the in-show show, but like the as far as this being an MC show to let her do that, I guess I could see that. But as far as narratively what's happening right now, she's actively avoided it. Like Vision's tried to make her see it, Monica's tried to make her see it, and there's key phrases that set her off. So Woodward or Hayward is definitely like and I think that's what confirms that like she knew Hayward was up to no good with Vision's body. So like, because every time Monica goes to that specifically, Wanda shuts down. So I don't feel like she's processing that piece. And then yeah, obviously she hadn't made the connection about what was happening to her in the hex yet, but definitely pieces about Hayward, and having just rewatched Endgame, and her conversation with Hawkeye, it's even more. It's like actually makes it more damning on Agatha and Hayward. Is that grief can come in waves, obviously. So she may have been good there at the funeral, and then had more time to think about what she lost, and it hit her differently than she was there with Hawkeye. But it definitely seemed like she was okay. Wasn't gonna go take over a town bad at the end of that. So I still think that's pretty damning on Hayward and what they were doing with his body for the past 5 years leading up to everyone coming back from the snap. And then then with whatever Agatha has done, either initiating, helping her set this up, and or Wanda did it and now she's taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yep.
Now clarifies the dog dying made Wanda talk to the boys about grief. Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think she was applying it to herself very much, but yes, it did start to at least open that door up more. And she probably, I guess a good point is that she might have been more receptive to Monica after the dog dying than she had been in the past. But I don't know if I would pin that on Agatha really doing that to make it happen.
So you're saying that Agatha didn't plan it. She just killed it just to kill it.
Yeah, I think she did it to move Wanda along, but I don't think she was doing it to help her process grief. I think that'd be where I kind of like...
Yeah.
Again,
because, the dog was a distraction.
So Sparky had to go. You're getting in the way of my plans, you dang dog. Now, if it had been John Wick's dog...
I'll bet you $5 Sparky shows up in the next episode.
Just to make people happy. I'm like, tell me she didn't really do it.
That or just to mess with people. But she said she killed it. What's going on? Why is the dog back?
All right. So, we got Photon. Or no, sorry. Now, I guess I'm curious what they are going to call Monica. We don't know yet. But in the comic, she's Spectrum. Then we definitely got to see her eyes like perceiving different bands and waves and forms of energy when she cuts through the hex. But since Photon wasn't actually used I wonder if she might take on her mom's name in this universe and not go as Spectrum. So I guess I'm kind of curious in that regard.
How did she block Vision's powers at the end of She didn't block Vision's powers at the end of Town. Vision's power, I think, is just to knock people out of the spell that they're under, and Agatha isn't under the spell. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I think that's good. That's a good point. Also, I mean, how hard would it be for Agatha to let herself be under the hex for a moment? Because that's what I thought. Is the reasons that sometimes Agatha may have felt like she was very in the universe, and then there's definitely moments to me that before they became very obvious, to moments to me that felt like she wasn't. She had more autonomy within inside the TV universe. I'm like, oh, if she doesn't need to be on right now, why not just operate under the hex for a little bit? If you need to do that to throw off suspicion, But again, it could just be acting. To like Tom's point, she's just like, oh yeah, I'm not actually under influence, so that he does the thing, it's not going to do anything. So then I just need to. I know what he's doing because I've been seeing him do it with Norm and starting to pick up these details. So I'll just, aren't you an Avenger? Aren't you?
Yeah. Because it's been Agatha all along.
Yeah, because she's been doing a really good acting job up to this point anyway. So just continuing that motif. I also felt like that was a good red herring, or like a good to kind of throw people off the scent a little bit there at the end. Because like if you really felt like if you had doubts, that might have thrown you off the scent. I wasn't tricked. You didn't get me. I think the only thing, what did I do? The only thing I said is that it's possible that maybe Nicholas was more involved in this, and that he was going to be the one maybe pulling the strings. But I still felt like she was. So that was the only thing it made me do. It didn't make me say like it wasn't her. But I want to jump back to Monica real quick, so because I know we need to start winding down. That transformation scene was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like hearing her mom, hearing Captain Marvel have the conversations from her childhood, and like willing and pushing herself through that, and she finally gets through it. I'm like, that was good. That was really good.
It actually harkens back to the moment when Captain Marvel faces whatever the name of the computer is, the AI, and she has all the memories of her getting back up, type of thing.
I have to go. I don't know because Christoph Beck didn't score Captain Marvel, but I'm wondering if he kind of like peeked over to the notes a little bit and was like, yeah, we're gonna play out that theme a little bit.
Yep.
Play out that theme a little bit here. It's really good because I've been listening to that one along with listening to the Agatha song. I've been listening to that little piece quite a bit. But her transformation brings up this interesting one. I think she's starting to realize stuff's off. I think she's in such a I gotta focus on this that she hasn't had time to process it yet. So like the way they're introducing her powers in the show is like, okay, first it's just vision. It's like she's just seeing stuff. And then when Wanda attacks her and she hits the ground, is able to like brace herself in a way that if Wanda wasn't prepared for, neither Monica was. She's starting to like, okay, all right. But she didn't like bust off an energy beam from her hand or anything crazy like that. So like even in the episode where she's clearly gained her powers to the audience, her as the learner in this moment is still getting like little tidbits of like something has happened to you as you went through the hex again, and what is it, and I hope it does turn into like in the finale finally getting to use that to a degree. She may not be as powered up as she will eventually become. It might still be training wheels to an effect to try to figure it out. But I like that this is like these little subtle progressions of it, in a short amount of time, because they go from getting through the hex, her eyes, and the landing hitting the ground in a matter of like 2 or 3 minutes. So I think that's very quick, but very subtle. Like again, we didn't have her flying around the town or anything like that, because I just would not have. We don't need that right now. But she senses something's off. You, the audience, know something's different, and then I think that will get paid off here very soon. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what happens with Photon. Or placeholder
Spectrum.
name Photon. Yes.
Again, I say the only reason I bring up Photon is just because I know we didn't get a Maria Rambeau in that, so I just was kind of wondering, like, I mean, her honoring her mom would not be crazy if she chooses to pick that name instead.
I'm looking forward to her being in Captain Marvel 2, showing up as and being like, by the way, you want to spar? Or something along those lines.
So, some other things that stood out, and I know we need to start wrapping. Last thing for Monica, I guess, in my head. Okay. When I was rewatching Endgame, Rocket makes a note that when Thanos snapped his hands, or snapped his fingers to do the snap, there's a lot of energy that got released to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of think he's bullshitting us with the stones being destroyed, and we know that Wanda's powers come from Mind Stone. The Hex is rewritten Maria's DNA into Photon/Spectrum. So part of my wonder was, Earth was the center of the snap, and Rocket made that comment about so much cosmic energy. He's very specific to say that word, cosmic energy being released from Wakanda outward into. I'm wondering if that's going to be like the back door for X-Men coming in, and not like pulling them from multiple universes. Again, that door, you got the multiverse, so that's an easy, as we get more and more into that over this phase, which again we got not Sentinels of the Multiverse. That's a board game. Was it Madness of the Multiverse for Doctor Strange?
Yes.
So we know it's going to happen there. So again, my theory, this one definitely is kind of weaker. It could end up not being the case, but there is at least a thing that's been established of, there was a lot of power that's released from the snap. It would not be crazy to think that mutants just didn't exist before this point in our MCU, and then after that fact, people start showing up that've got powers because of all the energy that was released. And the thing that makes me think of it is because Monica going back and forth through the Hex rewrote her. And again, I know that's very Wanda specific, but I don't think it's crazy to think that, oh yeah, a lot of energy got released right here. I'm sure that didn't affect anybody. I'm sure no one suddenly got some weird metahuman stuff going on after that. Yep. That's it. That's it, Tom.
Yep. I just, yeah. That's.
I see how it is. No,
I mean, do you want to go to 10:30?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
No, I do not disagree with you. Oh, okay. So we're at the pouting portion of our show.
We're at the what portion?
The pouting portion.
All right. Yeah. So what do we got coming up so that we're excited. Episode 8. We're not staying up Thursday night to watch it, so we'll watch it respectively on Friday. And I have not been doing reviews on each individual episode because I have not had the time. I'm working on Judas and the Black Messiah review, so hopefully that'll be out soon. A video written version of that, along with Denzel Washington and The Little Things, and both of those are on HBO Max. And then the 40-year-old version, Rada Blank's new movie, which is where basically she's done other stuff, but this is basically her big feature film debut, and it's really, really great. I really enjoyed it. So I'll get reviews on that out hopefully by the end of the weekend. But yeah, we're here every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. If you want to support us, we have some small Patreon tiers that also help us do these live shows. So for as low as $3, if you want to toss to that helps us definitely make sure that we can run the live shows and the fees it takes us to do that. And if you like our other series and like more long form or static videos, things we've teased on here but we haven't been able to release yet, joining the Patreon is a good way to make sure we can do that. Also, Taryn, thank you for reminding me. Saturday night we got an action doubleheader, Korean zombie movie / Indonesian action film. We're gonna be doing Train to Busan and then The Raid. I absolutely adore those movies. There is a remake coming for Train to Busan. I know some people are a little upset about it. On Saturday, I'll talk a little bit why it's okay to be upset at that, but there's also some reasons why. Like, there's some things to consider, and it's how people get paid when they make a foreign film, and it comes into different markets. So I'll talk about that a little bit on Saturday. But that starts at 8 p.m. Central. We start with Train to Busan, and then we'll do The Raid after it. Again, they're not short, but it's just a little bit under 2 hours. So I was like, yeah, I think we could do both these back to back. So we'll still have discussion periods after each movie, but it won't be as long as maybe some of the ones you've done before if you've been with some of our other monthly movie club nights. So, but yeah, that's Saturday. Did I miss anything else? Said watch Wandavision on Friday, and then
yeah, watch season 2 of For All Mankind is out as well.
Get out of here, Tom. No one watch those space TV shows. It's no one believed that. They're like,
no,
he's not serious.
Your comfort movie is a space show.
You know what the problem is? Because For All Mankind doesn't have enough organ music. That's what it is. So
yeah, probably.
You have to think about it. Means I'm right. I'm kidding. All right, folks. Thank you all for joining us. This is Master Chief Tom.
Yes.
Master Chief Tom. I guess I'm going to really need to get a quick reference card for all these ranks. That's what I need to do. And Commandership. We'll hopefully see you Saturday. Sorry. Last plug. I know you're probably like, if he doesn't stop playing. If you need your other sci-fi fix, Red Shirt Rejects is on this Thursday. And they will be talking about Star Trek, the motion picture.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
So brace yourself.
Speaking of slow and boring, like 2001.
So it'll either be a good time with drinks, talking about how terrible it is, or trying to defend it and make it into a hopefully a funner project, or like things that they liked from it. I'll also be popping in a little bit on that one to just kind of. I watched that so much as a kid. There's still some nostalgia parts of it, but yeah, Tom's right. It's
yeah. When they enter V'ger, you could get in your car, go to McDonald's, sit through the drive-thru, get yourself a number 3 with a Coke, get home and sit down, and they're still working through their way through V'ger. Also, but that movie has a special place in my heart, just only for the phrase Kirk unit being screamed at by I forgot her name. By the woman who gets turned into the V'ger probe.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, like they're talking about what V'ger is, and she's just like, Kirk unit. And I always thought,
right, so she's referring to someone as a person.
Yeah. Yes. Which is an accurate description of Captain Kirk.
Yeah. I am excited about a show. So Red Shirt Research is not every week. So we just don't have a lot of sci-fi always to talk about. So it's like every other week. The show in between that's going to be happening next week is we were originally going to call it Super Blurred Bros, but that kind of doesn't roll that last bit. You even heard me slur that. So I was struggling there. So it's going to be called the Super Blurred Variety Hour. And if you're wondering, like, what is a blurred? That's a black nerd, which I most certainly am. And we've got several black nerds on our staff or in our immediate circle that are going to jump in to talk about different topics. Now, it's not always going to be focused on black nerd topics. There'll be things that we just want to nerd out on together as black nerds on a particular topic and just get our viewpoint on it. But there definitely will be some things about like character creation in any video game. Our options are usually pretty whack. So we'll talk about some of the worst offenders. Like there's an episode we're going to work on is talking about the worst offenders, but then sometimes talk about I think this game did it very well. Shout out to Def Jam Fight for New York. Which that's cheating, but I don't care.
Oh. Okay.
Darren, we gotta clip this. Gotta clip that. But yeah, that will also be every other week. So if Red Short Rejects is not on, it'll be a Variety Hour. Or if Variety Hour is not on, it'll be Red Short Rejects. And just we got day jobs and things, so trying to come up with each of those shows doing 52 episodes, that would be a lot. So splitting them out like that just helps us out a lot. Cool. All right, I'm done. I'll stop talking. We're Taryn also clipped the space shows. Thank you. Just now to be on record that Kenneth does not like space shows.
I don't like space.
I don't like space. I don't want none of that vacuum. Get that vacuum away from me. All right, Master Chief Tom, Commandership, signing.